Hello viewers, welcome to my channel IITJ Olympiads and AP Physics with Ambarish. And today I have brought for you another challenge from the Pathfinder. This is magnetics question number 21 from the section Build Your Understanding. So this again is a very often asked problem. Many times students ask the solution to this problem. So that's why I chose to present this problem today. So let me read the question for you. What's the situation? A ring of radius r made of an insulating material has mass m and carries a uniform charge. So here's a ring and it has got uniform charge density, let's say lambda. So uniform charge. Initially it rests on a frictionless horizontal tabletop. So this is frictionless surface. Okay. A horizontal tabletop with its plane vertical. So gravity is acting downwards and its plane is vertical. Okay. A uniform horizontal magnetic field of induction B pointing everywhere parallel to the axis of the ring is established in the region to the right of the vertical plane. So beyond this plane, in this region, there is a magnetic field coming out of the page. Okay, so this AA is supposed to be a vertical plane. Okay, the ring is pushed forward to acquire a velocity V0 without any rotation. So this ring has some velocity V0 and initially there is no omega. There is no omega at all. So it's going without rotation. Okay. But once it gets into the field, you know that because of its velocity there will be some qv cross b forces acting on it, and they will, if you visualize properly, they will be giving some torque about the center. So I leave that for your thinking in case you want to try out this problem. So what's going to happen is it's going to enter, and because of magnetic torque it's going to begin to roll, and the question is related to that. What is asked? So ring is pushed forward to acquire a velocity v0 without any rotation. What should be the charge on the ring so that it starts rolling on the tabletop after completely entering the region of magnetic field? So once it enters completely, we want that it should start pure rolling, or we can say that v should be equal to omega r. That's the challenge. Okay, so you can do it in several ways, and some of the ways are very lengthy, and I'll be presenting a smart trick, but before you look into my solution, in case you would like to try it out, so you can pause the video and take some good 10-15 minutes. It's going to take time, so take good 10-15 minutes and try out, and then you can have a look at my solution. I'll get into my analysis right away now. So let me introduce the how I have approached this. So see how I have chosen the variable. So here v0 is the initial velocity, and let's say at some point this length L has entered. The curved length I am calling as L. So this much of ring has entered, this much ring has entered, and this much is still outside. Okay, and then finally the entire ring will be inside the magnetic field, and let's say its velocity is v and its angular velocity is omega. Okay, now I am supposed to find out the charge, sir. Our main problem was to find out how much charge should be there on the ring so that it starts rolling completely. Okay, pure rolling we want, we want it to start pure rolling. Okay, obviously it will depend on the charge, because obviously one solution is if there's no charge at all, there's no magnetic torque, and the ring will keep sliding. Okay, so obviously omega will depend on the charge. So now one thing I can say for sure, that since magnetic force does no work the ring on the ring, so kinetic energy of the ring must remain conserved. Okay, so kinetic energy is going to be constant. Okay, so that's what I have written this equation: half mv0 square is equal to half into 2mr square into v by r square. Why v by r? Because omega is v by r. So this is the moment of inertia 2mr square about the instantaneous axis. Moment of inertia is 2mr square. So half into moment of inertia about instantaneous axis into omega square. So that's the kinetic energy once it starts pure rolling. Here pure rolling has started. Okay, and that gives me the relation v is equal to v0 upon root 2. So you can cancel off m, you can cancel off a half, and then you can readily see that 1r square will be cancelled and v square. So you get this result: v is equal to v0 upon root 2. Okay. Now I am going to do some smart trick. Even though this is a problem in magnetics, I have tried to solve it using the concepts of electromagnetic induction. So those students who have not yet studied electromagnetic induction will be able to appreciate this solution once they learn Faraday's law and Lenz's law. You will be in a position to appreciate this solution. There are alternate ways and there are longish methods for doing this otherwise also. So but I am going to use the Faraday's law for solving this. So let's see. So the suspense is going to be revealed shortly. Okay, so how am I going to use Faraday's law? So now what happens, see when it enters the magnetic field, there will be some QV cross B. So let's say, so that QV cross B will have some component along the ring and some component perpendicular to the ring. Okay, at every point, because of omega and V, there will be some component of magnetic force perpendicular to the ring, and there will be some component along the ring. So I am calling the component along the ring as ET, T for tangential. So let ET be the tangential component of magnetic force per unit charge along the ring. Okay, I'm not claiming E2 to be constant. It can as well vary with the length. So ET is just, you can say, local tangential electric field, not electric field. I mean, effectively we can call it, because it's magnetic force per unit charge, so it will have the dimensions of electric field, hence the symbol E. Okay, because magnetic force per unit charge or electric force per unit charge will have same dimension, because it's basically force per unit charge, right? So let ET be the tangential component of magnetic force per unit charge along the ring. Then the instantaneous torque of the magnetic force about the center of mass of the ring is given as C. So if ET is the tangential component, so and lambda is the charge density. So on a small element, you can see that everywhere there will be the tangential force will be simply what? E tangential into lambda into d theta, let us say. Okay, so everywhere the force, this force is tangential. So for finding the torque, I can simply multiply the force, this tangential force, by the radius. That's what I have done. So I have said that torque about the center of the ring will be given as lambda into ET. This becomes the force into dl. So lambda dl is the small amount of charge. So if I consider dl over here, then the charge on this is lambda dl, and lambda dl into E tangential into radius becomes the small amount of torque on this element. And then you need to integrate it from 0 to complete L. That's what I've written. See, so this is the magnetic torque. Okay, 0 to L, lambda ET. Here lambda is q upon 2 pi, that is charge per unit length. Okay, now this should start tickling you. So recognize that ET into dl is also the motional EMF, right? Because what is motional EMF? The force trying to push the charge per unit charge. Okay, I mean the integral of that force over length. So now recognize that E tangential dl is also the motional EMF in the entered part, which should also be equal to rate of change of flux through the ring. So whatever is the motional EMF in this part, that should be equal to the rate of change of flux through this part, that we know from the Faraday's law. Okay, that's what I've written. So E tangential dot dl is also the motional EMF in the entered part, which is equal to the rate of change of flux through the ring. Also recognize that by Lenz's law, velocity of the ring is decreasing. Of course, as the ring is entering, because of Lenz's law, its speed should be slowed down. Okay, so then in this expression, you can take lambda and r outside. What are you left with inside? That becomes ETDL, and ETDL is the EMF, which is d phi by dt. Okay, so that's what I have done. I have taken lambda and r outside, and the rest of the expression I have written as d phi by dt, because rest of the expression is nothing but EMF of the EMF due to the motional EMF due to the magnetic field. Okay, and which is also lambda r d phi by dt. Okay, so this is your torque. Now once I know the torque, I can also write the angular impulse. So angular impulse is nothing but tau dt. So angular impulse, I have denoted it by the symbol h, that is integral tau dt. So you take dt over here, and then you are left over with lambda r d phi. Lambda r are constants, and d phi integral is nothing but delta phi. So we can say that angular impulse is simply lambda r into delta phi. And delta phi is what? So simply magnetic field into area of the ring once it enters completely. So change in magnetic flux is b into pi r square, and lambda r comes as it is. Okay, and lambda I can substitute as q upon 2 pi r. So just simplifying this equation, putting the value of lambda, we get angular impulse as h is equal to q b r square by 2. So this is the angular impulse, and of course now I can use the angular impulse momentum theorem. And by angular impulse momentum theorem, the angular impulse is equal to change in angular momentum of the ring about the center of mass. So this is the angular impulse about center of mass, and this should be equal to change in angular momentum about the center of mass, that is mr square omega. Okay, because the moment of inertia about center of mass is mr square, and angular velocity is omega. So angular impulse is mr square omega, and that gives you q is equal to 2m omega upon b. Okay, so q is 2m omega upon b. Now I wanted to find q, so if I can write omega, then I already have the answer for q. So omega I can readily find. See, if you look at equation number 2, I'm going to show you the equation 2. What is the equation 2? here is the equation 2. So equation 2 is v is equal to v naught upon root 2. So this velocity is this v naught divided by root 2, and you know that v is nothing but omega into r. So if you know v, you can as well write omega as what? V naught upon root 2 r. Why? Because it's v by r, and v by r is nothing but v naught upon root 2 r. So that's what I have written. See, so instead of omega, I have written v naught by root 2 r. Okay, and you put omega as v naught by root 2 r, and you have your answer. This is the charge q is equal to root 2 mv naught upon br. So that's my final answer. And when I had done this problem for the first time, I really enjoyed it. I felt ecstatic after solving it using electromagnetic induction concepts, and I hope that you will feel as ecstatic as I did in solving this problem. And if you liked my solution, please do like, share and subscribe on my channel, and please do share my videos in various study groups that you might be part of, maybe some WhatsApp groups that you are part of, or Telegram groups, or whatever social media groups you might be having. I mean, yeah, whatever study groups you are having, you can share my video, and please do keep coming back to my channel. Thanks a lot for watching this, and wish you all the best.